Hello everyone. Hello.
Hi.
How is it going today?
Awesome.
Great. Nice. So my name is Peter, and today I will be talking about bottom navigation headache. I'm a senior Android engineer at Babylon Health, and at night I'm a GDG organizer, one of them. So maybe you know me from the our local meetups here in Krakow. And that's it about me. One more thing, we are hiring at Babylon, and also we are hiring at GDG, but you will not get paid for this. So be careful. Okay, so we will start about something different. So we will start about problem to solve. So can you count all triangles here at this picture? Who can count them in 5 seconds? I will give you 10. No one. Okay. Yeah, so probably you started counting them manually. So this is how we approach our problem every day. When we have to solve something, we are trying to code it and do not think about it up front. So every time when we have some complex problem, but this one looks pretty easy, right? It's only triangles. We should put it on the paper, we should define our problem and solve it. So how to solve this problem in a really good manner? There is an algorithm for this. So we can count dots here at the bottom of our triangle, and then with very sophisticated math, like this, we can count all the triangles. So for odd number of base dots, we have a different equation, and for even different one. So when we will put to our n number of our dots, we will get 102. So why I showed this thingy on my presentation, I wanted to give you a chance to rethink your problems and to just emphasize the problem that we should every time think twice. I made a lot of mistakes in my programming life. I did a lot of algorithms and I programmed them by coincidence. So I made a mistake one by one, I fixed it, and then I had a huge, gigantic code that was unmaintainable. So today, agenda is pretty neat. So I'm going to talk about headache that I had, about cure that I used, and I will show you some code. I'm not very good at slides, so I will have only a few of them, but I tried really hard. They are really beautiful. And then I will show you some code. Okay, so about the headache. So a lot of Android applications nowadays have a bottom navigation at the bottom, right? So how many of you have application that has this kind of navigation bundled in your application? Everyone. So one more question, how many of you have this kind of navigation plus, how did they call it? Shelf?
Navigation drawer.
Yeah, navigation drawer. So, okay, so hybrid solution. Not so many of you, but probably everyone is aiming this kind of navigation, right? So we have Instagram, we have Spotify, we have YouTube, we have more. We have Twitter, we have Revolut, and we have Google Play. Even in the company that I'm currently working for, we have also this kind of navigation. And one more thing, every company is doing it differently. So probably, so those 6 apps that are most used, my apps, so I'm using a lot of Instagram because I want to show off how cool I am, right? I watch a lot of videos because I'm a geek. I listen to music, and yeah, I'm paying my bills with Revolut because I'm a fintech guy. But I have to say that those kind of navigations that are driving me crazy. It's inconsistent across the apps, so I don't really like it, how it behaves when I go back, pressing back button. Okay, so this is my app, a very sophisticated one. So we have two tabs. We have in each tab we have a button, and we are able to press it, and we go to the deeper level. So let's play it. So we go here, deeper. We go home, deeper. We go to dashboard. We are in the deeper level because we want to persist the backstack. We go press back, back, home, back, and then when we press back, we go to our launcher, right? So how we can do this? So there are a lot of possible ways of coding this, but let's do some diagrams. So at the beginning we are on the root level. So the root level means that we are in our launcher. When we go to our application, we have our dashboard page, right? So this is the first screen that you see. When you click the button, you are in dashboard second level. Let's call it second level. So we are on the backstack. We put something on the backstack, right? Then we switch the tab to home, and we are in the second tab, but at the meantime, in the first tab, we want to be in the second level, right? Then we go to the home second level, then we go back to dashboard, and then press back, so we go to dashboard first level. And then, again, same thingy, when we press back on the screen that doesn't have a backstack, it's like 0, so we go back to our operating system. That's really cool, but there is one problem, that when we want to code it in one fragment manager, we will have to code a lot of things to support multiple backstack. So how we can do this? So we have actually two graphs. It's not a one graph. So we want to support two graphs with two backstacks, separate one. And when we will add another tab, we want to support the backstack there as well, right? So the cure. So what can we use to achieve our goal? So we can do a one fragment manager and put everything together, right? And then somehow code the backstack manually with some fancy algorithms. But we all know that we are not really good at algorithms. Maybe some of you are, but I am not. I pretty suck at algorithms, to be honest. And we always have a problem during the interview. This is the hardest part. But what can we do here? We can split those backstacks to child fragment managers, and then use the power of Android SDK. So on each child fragment manager, we will have a backstack, and then we will just switch those child fragment managers. So how can we code it? How I did it, I used a pager for having every tab separately with a fragment, and then I used child fragment manager inside this fragment to persist the backstack. So it can be done. We have a lot of problems, because when you will code it by hand, probably you will have one simple method when you do all the fragment transactions. And the complicated part is when your designer will go to you and ask, okay, so between this screen and this one, because there is some promotion, we want to do a fancy flip. So then he will say, I can't do it because my architecture allows me to change it globally. And that's fine when you have to change something and you change it in a one place and it's propagated to every place in your app. That's great. But in this case, no. So you're a sad Android engineer because your iOS colleague will say, I can do it in 2 minutes. And we know this fight between iOS and Android. But yeah, it's all about solutions. They have some solution already done by Apple for this. We didn't have, but stay tuned. Okay, so fragments. Yes, so when we want to code this, probably most of you will use fragments. So how many of you are using fragments for screens? How many of you are using only activities? Okay, and how many of you is using single activity with many fragments? Okay, half for the second and the third, and the first one, most of you. Okay, but when we are dealing with the fragments, I told you, when we want to apply just an animation for a single fragment, it can be pretty awkward. So transactions are not easy. So they are easy at first, but when in time it's not easy. So transitions between fragments, deep links. So when we have our custom solution, we have to think about deep links. So we have to code our engine to go to the right tab and go to the right place inside your subgraph. So this is something that also can give you a headache, and it gave me. And the last but not least is data sharing. So when you want to share data between, you have a lot of different patterns. When you have, I think Google says that when you have a large amount of data and you want to persist them between screens, you can use view models for this because they are persisted. Also, there is some problem with the process kill, but they are working on it. So there will be a view model persisted over the process kill. So it's not going to be a problem. But anyway, if you want to just transition from one screen to another and share a portion of data, some argument, for example, you're going from the list of your prices, and you can just show a detail of price. So you want to just share ID, how to do it. It's an easy way to do it, but how to do it in a really descriptive way. Also, it can be a problem, you have to code it by hand. And when you have all those problems, then this guy comes to your company and it sees all this code and the math that you did around the navigation. And again, your iOS guy will tell you, we have a component in our ecosystem for this. I don't have to even solve this, it's already been solved. So, what's the problem? But yeah, so this guy will come and will be, what have you been done? Okay, so yeah. Okay, so let's talk about a Cure V2. So there is something like navigation component from Jetpack. It was released 2 years ago on Google I/O, and it was prepared for us to actually make our life easier. So to give us opportunity to not deal with fragments directly, just to use some abstractions to give some other code instructions to go there and that, and to separate definition of our graph from our code. So when they released it, it was alpha version, but they told us that it's alpha, but really tested alpha. So a lot of people use it on production. Also, when Google released it, they told us that they are using already this thingy inside some of the Google apps. So I was really pumped about this, and I'm not an expert about navigation component. I played with it a little bit, and from what I saw, I saw that it solved a lot of problem out of the box, and it's pretty flexible. So also it gives you an opportunity to code something in a different way that the Google wants. So it's really nice. Oh, sorry. So now we will code a little bit. So I will show you code. No more slides. 2 more. You saw already 1. So 1 more. So let's go to IDE. Are you happy about coding? Yeah. Okay. It's gonna be semi-coding because we have only like half an hour, so I will be showing you some stuff that you can do with your navigation component and with your app. So maybe let's start from the app. So my app has two launches, and one is a one graph in activity. So we'll be using just one graph for our application. So this is the one. It's a little bit refactored version of my application that I showed you on slides, but it's almost the same. So what can we do here? We can, as I said, we can go to the first deep level, then to second deep level, and then to the third deep level. And when we go back, by default, what Google provides us, we go back, then we go to our home. So they call it home destination. So it's a first screen of your app. So we do not go to dashboard directly, and then we go back and we go out. So this is the one graph thingy. When we have a graph per tab, so that means that we want to persist the stack in the tab. So when we go here, everything should be persisted, right? And when we go back, we go to the first level of the profile, and when we press back, some of apps are using the strategy that they are not going to home, but they just go from the app, right? Because the user maybe can go from the app. It's not the best one, and you can do it better, and I will show you how to do it better in a really simple way. Okay, so this is maybe let's begin from the setup. Okay, so what we have to do to use the navigation graph, no-brainer here. So we have to, with bottom navigation we need a material dependency to get a view, and to use navigation component we need just two things. If we are using Kotlin, we have a specific tailored dependencies for Kotlin, fragment KTX, because we are using fragment as screens. I didn't tell you this, but with navigation component you can use anything to specify your views. The whole thing is pretty abstract from the architecture point of view, but here I will use fragments, and you have navigation UI to have all the things, and app component, app compat, a lot of extensions. Okay, so this gives you ability to use it in code. That's it. And let's start with the one graph activity. So it is the first thing that I showed you, and what we have here. So maybe let's begin with the activity one graph. So we go here, we have a linear layout, fragment, and bottom navigation view. Bottom navigation view is it's at the bottom, and then we have a container for fragment. So how we say that this container will contain a graph. So we have a special attribute, nav graph, and then we can point it to navigation graph. And as you can see, this is an XML. We are pointing to some resources. So the Google is pretty smart because they own the platform. Now they own Android Studio. They own the whole tooling situation. So they could put the navigation component graph as a XML to our resources and just code it in AAPT, right? So we cannot do it. So that's why that's why they were able to do it this in such a good way. So when we go to the graph, as you can see, we have an editor here. So on the left side we have all our screens inside the graph, and here we have a representation of our screens on a diagram. So we have a home, we go to second level, we have dashboard, we go to dashboard, profile. So this is the thing, you can play with it, you can do a lot of things, you can put screens, you can just drag and drop destination. When you want to use argumented destination, argumented action, you can also do it here. Then you have a form to fill what kind of data you want to send. Of course, before you have to bundle some plugin with annotation processing that will process this code for you, but that's an easy stuff. And also you can define here subgraphs, so you can build a subgraphs from your big graph. You can also express animations here, so when you go to, for example, this destination, what you can do here, you can specify animations that enter exit and pop enter and pop exit. That's cool, right? Everything in the layout editor, we don't have to code anymore. Are you happy? You are not happy. Engineers, they don't like this stuff. But I like it. I don't know why. I used to not like it, but this one is pretty good. Okay, so yeah, options. So so let's go to code. In code, there is no magic. So we have our standard XML here. So we have the navigation tag to just encapsulate everything in one graph. And then we have a fragment. So we have a home tab, this pointing to our home fragment. Then we have an action. So an action is this destination, this arrow that was on our graph. And it's pointing to a deeper level. So to this fragment that is a home screen second level. No brainer. So here is the definition of everything. We can glue everything in the XML, and then we invoke those functions that are not generated, but there are extension functions on our existing OS types that we can just supply with the ID and go to the action. That's great. So we have a home tab, we have a dashboard tab, and we have a profile tab. So that's awesome. So now there is a, let's go back to one activity graph. Here we have a bottom navigation set up with navigation controller, and we are finding the controller, but finding it in main nav host. So here, so we are saying, I want to find with this, from this fragment, from this container, a graph. We are connected it to bottom navigation. But how it is done internally, we need to have IDs, the same IDs, for the tabs and for the destinations, right? For the screens. So how can we do it? So some of the people are just, let's go maybe to, this definition. So we can point our resource for menu directly in the XML, because it's an OLIA definition, so we don't have to do it manually by a code function. So we can do it just here. And we can see that we have our tabs. So we have an items with IDs, home, dashboard, and profile. So is anyone there that can spot some not common thingy here? Or maybe a mistake? I will point that this is in every line of this. Sorry? Yes. So I'm not creating ID here. So I'm not saying that I'm not adding new ID to the scope, but I'm reusing IDs. So a lot of people are saying, oh, this approach from Google is not good because I have to specify the same ID here with a name and a different ID in our navigation with the same name of ID. And then the whole process of building our app will point to the same space in the memory, so we will have the same value for those IDs. But a funny fact, not a lot of people maybe are aware of this, but we can specify our IDs up front. So we can just, as you can see, we can create in res values an ID XML, and we can create our IDs here, specifying a name and type. And then we can reuse it. So from this one place we can glue our resources. So here we have a home tab, dashboard tab and profile tab. And also when we go here to single graph, you can see that for the profile tab I'm not creating, but I'm reusing the ID. So how many of you didn't know about extracting resources to IDs XML? Oh, some of you. Nice. So every day we learn something new. So it's good that you learn something from me. Okay, so we know about the resources, how to glue them, how we navigate to different screen, and that's it. So the definition of our navigation we have inside our XML. We have a layout editor for this, navigation editor for this, and how we glue everything together. So we are setting content view, bam, everything is done, our activity is set up. We are taking bottom navigation from the layout. We are using extension function set up with navigation controller. We are finding navigation controller from our fragment, and it's all set up. The ID's magic will just make the thingy. When you click the bottom navigation tab, you will be redirected to the right place in the graph. Amazing. So also, to have all the titles and handled properly with your toolbar or action bar, you have to set up action with navigation controller. And that's it. And also, to maintain properly your backstack, you have to override on support navigation up. It's already bundled up compat activity from the Android X. And what you are doing, you are finding the right graph and you are navigating up. And that's it. So, easy? Yes or no?
Yes.
You are sleeping, right? Yeah. Okay. So one graph activity done. It's pretty simple. So how can we build on the top of this solution something more sophisticated to persist tabs inside every graph? As I said, we have a subgraphs. We can merge them. We can reuse them. We can switch between graphs. So I picked an approach when I switch between graphs. So here I did some comments just to make it more clear, because this code is on GitHub, so you will be able after my talk to check it, to browse it. It's updated with all the new libraries, so you can check it by yourself. Okay, so what we have here, what is different from our previous thingy, we are specifying that the current tab will be home tab. So this is the first thing that we go to the app, we go to the home tab. Then we are setting our content view, but it's a different content view. So here we don't have a one fragment, but we are saying in our scope of the main screen we will have 3 containers, and every container will contain a different navigation graph. So it's not going to be everything on a single graph, but we are building something like a subgraphs architecture here. So when we go here, from the code perspective, from the XML perspective, we have only a dashboard fragment and dashboard second level fragment. Same with the home, and same with the profile. Oh, I don't know why it opened. Some random values there. No, it's probably because I did it before. Okay, so everything. So this is the different thingy, not in one graph, but it's separately done. And here is the same. So the magic with the IDs, with extracted IDs, is the same. So we are using here the home tab. We can go here, and we can see that yeah, okay, I'm using it here now. Cool. Okay, so what we have here, so this is a different approach, so I have to code something manually, but just a spoiler, it's only 59 lines of code to achieve a different navigation. So why it's different? It's different because at first what we are saying, we want to open the home, so we have to switch to the right fragment, to the right container. How we are doing this? We are just saying, okay, we will just cache the current tab ID just to bundle the information where we are in terms of saving state of it. And then what we are doing, we are set up action bar with navigation controller. So we are doing this this function. I just wrote it just to put Google's extension function in one place, just to make it easier. And then I coded something like hide all nav hosts except this one. So when I want to switch to a tab, I'm saying just leave this one will be visible, and the rest of the tabs, hide them. So how it is done? This is the old transaction thing. Maybe it can be done better. I just spent probably 2 hours just to figure out how to do it, and I have this thing. So I'm getting a support fragment manager, fragments, and then I'm just showing and hiding. So I'm applying some transactions of showing, hiding our container, and that's it. But I think it's a good way, because when your designer will ask you to change a particular animation of transition, probably it's going to be done in a deeper level, because you want to be consistent, and when you switch over tabs, the animation should be the same. It can be a switcher, it can be a fading animation, but it's going to be consistent, so you will code it in one place and you will share for all tabs. So that's a good idea. But okay, that's a good idea. So showing nav host, yeah, we were in this place, and now we are wiring bottom navigation click. So this is like a boilerplate. We have to say when someone will click here, we are showing this thing. So we don't want our navigation graph to make this for us. We want to do one more time our custom thingy. So we want to change the tab and go to a different graph. So we are invoking this one. So with caching, finding, hiding. Caching, finding, hiding, caching, finding. Nobody likes my jokes. Because it wasn't a joke, right? Okay. And then we have on back pressed. So here we are doing something also different. So we are looking for a particular graph that is on current tab, and we are popping it. So we are popping this, and when we should close it, so the backset is empty, we are going out from our app, right? So this is the case that I showed you. So it's graph per boom, boom, boom. So we go here, then we are in the current tab, we go deeper, so we are pressing backstack. When we should close, we are closing. So this is the code for this. So it's also not really sophisticated, it's pretty simple. Of course, it can be extracted somewhere or tested, but this presentation will not cover testing. But there is a specific thingy from Google to test your navigation out there. And also we have this boilerplate to navigate up. So on support navigation up, we are finding the right navigation graph, and we are navigating up with this. This is for the clicking for the arrow in the left up corner. Okay. So that's it. So that's pretty simple. So from our first solution, we went to other solution. We reuse all fragments. I didn't have to define new fragments for my navigation. I just glued everything together. Of course, what we can do from my graph per tab layouts, also I can build it in a one graph. So I can also reuse some part of code to build this one graph solution. So there is some boilerplate here that can be stripped in terms of layouts. And that's it. But yes, there is always a but. So now I can show you a pretty important thing that I already mentioned, the animations. So when the designer will ask you to animate one specific destination, we can do it, and I will show you how to do it. Okay, so we can go to Profile, we can go to Designer, we can go here, and we can specify our animation. And this animation will be defined for the particular action. So slide up, slide in up, slide out. Let's define all of them. Of course, they will show in your XML, just like a thingy. Nice. And let's build it. There will be some crash, of course. No. I hope that they will not crash. Okay. So maybe in the meantime, there is a funny fact that when I'm building this thing, right now I'm not building on my machine, but I'm building on an external mainframer. It's a solution in our company how we can speed up our builds. So we are not building on our machines, but we are building on a separate machine, and it's faster. Okay, so it's built. Pretty fast, right? Huh? Huh? It was not 2 minutes. Okay. Okay, so profile. Whoa. Okay. This is not working. Why is it? Okay, because it's per tab. Oh, okay. So here we have a simple thing, but really easy. So now you can be iOS engineer because you can be as fast as them. I'm joking. I like iOS engineers. I will not make any more fun of them. Okay, so that's an easy thing. So now I will show you something different. Just on the top of the solution, we have 6 minutes, so I will not code, I will just unstash it. Okay. So we have this graph per activity, and right now we want to change this code just to also persist a stack of tabs. So just to make you example this. So I want to have a navigation when I go here, here, and here, and I press right now back and back. I do not go out from application, but I go to dashboard, back, to home, and back. So how can we do it? Of course, it's a custom solution, so we will not use anything from the navigation graph. We will just code something by ourselves. Right now we have 59 lines of code, and what can we do? Of course, we have to persist not a current tab, but a stack, right? So develop, we'll check out, and yeah. So this is the solution. I will just go through it. And what we have here, we have a tab IDs stack. Wait, I did some spoiler. Okay. So we have our tab IDs, so we have stack. So what we changed here, we are not we are not calling this function. Here we have some persisting state for our process kill. I wanted to show it after, but yeah, maybe it's better because we don't have time for this. So here, in case of being killed by system, we are just getting it from the saved state, and then we show navigation host from the ID's pop. So we are popping it from a stack and then put on the stack as well, and we are changing a tab. So that's it. This is the same, it stays the same. So only this part is different, right? And the definition of our, let's call it caching tab mechanism, and the tab IDs. Then we have onSafe instance state, the boilerplate that we have to do, so just to save it. And then we have our function. So it looks pretty similar, right? Because what we are doing, we are checking, we are finding the navigation controller, we are picking stuff from the stack, we are pop back stack. If not, we should close, and then we are checking if should close. We are just popping the tab because now we are switching tabs, and then we are checking if it's empty. We just go from the app because we don't have anything to pop. But if we have something inside our stack of tabs, we just select youngest tab. Also easy, one-liner. I did it one-liner, but it can be done in 3 lines. But it's a one-liner. So pop. Also, we are taking the value from pop and we are selecting the item. And I did some documentation here that this function pops the youngest tab and selects it. It will bottom navigation. Okay. Okay. The bottom navigation will do it automatically. Call the set on navigation item selected listener and call this one. Oh, I don't know. I think I was drunk when I was doing this. No, I was not drunk. Probably tired. Okay, this is the same. So drag, we have to do this, take it from the documentation, and this one is also the same, but we are not caching here because we are using the stack, so we are pushing, we are reusing, so just Kotlin magic of these functions, scoping functions, and that's it. So I didn't have to change anything except this file, and I code a little bit of extension functions to transform array list to stack. So just 2 extension functions. That's it, to transform when I want to save state, and that's it. So let's build it, and we will check, how is it going. Okay. Again, we will wait. Okay, we have 1 minute 40 seconds. I hope it's going to build in this time. So with all the things before, I wasn't saving the state for the process kill. So we have some additional code here, and just to code the next level of our navigation, I added like few lines of code just to make sure that this is clear. So now we have 90, 59. So you can count how many of lines I added. So we have our graph per tab thing, and let's go through it. So with this change, and it was pretty simple, we have also this animation, and when we go back, will it work? Yes, we go to dashboard, we go first level, home, first, and that's it. So also we can tweak it. So if you will download my code, try to play with it and try to code something for your own. Probably try to mimic the behavior of the YouTube, because on YouTube, when you double click the same tab in the stack, it's taken from the it's taken from the oldest and put it on the youngest place, and you don't have doubles. I have doubles, so like I go here, 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 and here. So see, I'm doing switching for every tab. This is how the Spotify behaves anyway. Okay, so time is running out. So that was everything from the coding perspective that I have for you today. So that's it. Thank you. Question and answers. I think we have some. No? Do we have time for questions? Okay. We have no idea, so we have. Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? Ah, yes, we have one at least.
Hi. Thank you for your great speech and especially for funny jokes. I have a question.
Yes.
Exploring this library, have you experienced any use cases which you couldn't handle? So I'm asking about limitations of the library.
So,
Thank you.
as I said, so the question was about having some problems during usage of the library. So at the beginning there was some glitches, some random crashes and problems with the tooling part, but the library was stable. I haven't done a lot of things. I haven't put it to my production application, so I don't know about any corner cases. For sure you can support deep links, and I didn't cover this one, but it's in like pretty massive documentation. It's written down by Google. So on the left side you have how to create a deep link. So with my custom solution you will have to do some also additional code to handle it, to check the graph and then paste a deep link to the right graph. So this is a kind of limitation, and so far I think that they covered a lot. They are covering a lot of things, but I cannot like precisely say that I had some problem. No.